The store's fluorescent lights hummed like tired bees, flickering over aisles lined with price tags and half-off stickers. It was late afternoon, and the air carried that strange blend of cheap perfume, synthetic fabric, and floor cleaner. Among the chatter and footsteps, one man moved slower than the rest. A man who didn't quite belong to the rhythm of this place. Daniel. His hands were rough, the kind that told a lifetime of work. His shirt faded and pressed just enough to show he tried. The shadows beneath his eyes spoke of long nights, of responsibilities too heavy for one pair of shoulders. Beside him, a little girl, no more than 7, skipped carefully over the shiny tiles, her small shoes squeaking faintly. Lily. Her ponytail bounced as she clutched a stuffed bunny so old. Its button eye had gone cloudy. They stopped by the clearance rack, that lonely corner where forgotten clothes waited for a second chance. Daniel gently ran his fingers along the tags, whispering the prices under his breath. Doing silent math only struggling parents understand. Around him, the store buzzed with people in clean coats and crisp laughter. The kind of laughter that stings when you're not part of it. 2 women nearby exchanged glances, whispering just loud enough for him to hear. One of them scoffed. Some people shouldn't shop where they can't afford it. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He just smiled faintly at Lily and knelt beside her. "How about this one, sweetheart?" he asked softly, holding up a small yellow dress. Lily's eyes lit up, but even in her excitement, she noticed how carefully he checked the tag. "It's pretty," she said, "but are you sure?" Daniel nodded with a tired smile. "It's perfect, just like you." He didn't see the smirk forming behind the counter. At the register, a young cashier named Tara leaned lazily against the counter. Her friends, 2 off-duty co-workers, standing nearby with iced coffees and too much free time. Daniel placed the clothes down carefully, a few t-shirts, a jacket, and that yellow dress. Tara scanned them, her tone playful but sharp. "Wow, clearance section royalty today, huh?" Her friends giggled. Daniel forced a polite smile. "Yeah, just some essentials for my daughter." "Oh, of course," she said, feigning sympathy. "Nothing wrong with cheap. Some people just make it work, I guess." Her words hung in the air like a slap. Lily's smile faltered. She looked up at her father, then back at the cashier. Daniel tried to brush it off, reaching for his wallet, his hands trembling just slightly. But Tara wasn't done. "Guess we all have to budget," she added loudly, "especially when you've got priorities." A few shoppers turned their heads. One man snickered. A woman shook her head disapprovingly, muttering something about people who should plan better. Daniel's throat tightened. The laughter seemed to echo, not just in the store, but in every memory of struggle he'd ever had. Every late night counting coins, every birthday he couldn't afford to make special. He took a deep breath, whispering mostly to himself, "It's okay. Just pay and go." But Lily saw it. She saw the way his hand shook when he passed over the bills. She saw the way he swallowed hard, pretending not to hear the laughter. Her small fingers gripped her bunny tighter. The cashier scanned the last item, still smirking. "That'll be $43.50. Or would you like to check if any of these are further discounted?" Her friends laughed again, cruelly. Daniel didn't look up. He simply nodded, sliding the crumpled bills across the counter. Then, a sound, a small voice. Soft but clear. "Daddy, can I say something?" The laughter stopped. Even the humming of the lights seemed to fade. Daniel turned to her, startled. Lily's eyes were glistening, her lips pressed together in determination. He hesitated. "Sweetheart." But she'd already stepped forward. The room shifted. A few people paused mid-aisle. The cashier's smirk wavered. Lily looked up at the tall counter, her voice trembling. "My daddy's hands are rough because he works hard," she began. "He fixes other people's cars all day, even when his own hands hurt." Her words were quiet, but somehow everyone could hear them. "He buys me clothes that last because he says we don't need the best. We just need what's enough. And you know what?" She turned her head toward the watching crowd. "He always gives me the best he can. Always." The air turned heavy. Tara blinked, suddenly unsure of what to say. Her friends looked down, awkward. Daniel's lips parted, stunned. He hadn't expected it, hadn't expected her to defend him, to speak with such courage. Lily took another breath, her voice cracking. He says money comes and goes, but love stays forever. So maybe these clothes aren't fancy, but they're bought with love. That's what makes them special. A silence fell so deep, it seemed the entire store held its breath. One of the women who had mocked them earlier looked away, her cheeks flushed. A mother nearby gently pulled her child closer, eyes softening. Even Tara seemed to shrink behind the counter, her playful arrogance crumbling into shame. Daniel knelt beside his daughter, eyes glassy. He whispered, "Lily." But the words caught in his throat. And then, something no one expected. A man from the back of the line, older, with kind eyes and a worker's stance, stepped forward. "Sir," he said quietly, "you've raised a good one." Daniel turned, stunned. The man nodded toward Lily. "You should be proud." But before Daniel could respond, before he could even take a breath, a voice echoed from the other end of the aisle. "Hey, is everything okay here?" It was the store manager. Drawn by the silence, the watching crowd, the shift in atmosphere, Tara froze, color draining from her face. And just like that, everything began to change. Soft music rises, emotional piano, because what would happen next would leave everyone in that store speechless. Mid-story message: if you believe that kindness is worth more than money, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs a little reminder today. The room was frozen, the kind of silence that comes not from peace, but from shock. Every eye in the store locked onto a little girl standing beside her father, trembling but brave. Lily's voice quivered at first, like a candle flickering against the wind. But then, it grew stronger. She looked up at the cashier, the same one who had mocked her father moments ago, and said softly, "My daddy works all day to make sure I can eat dinner every night." Her voice cut through the air, small but powerful. "He skips his lunch sometimes so I can have mine." The laughter that had filled the store just minutes earlier vanished. The cashier's smirk melted. The two friends beside her looked away, suddenly finding the floor very interesting. A few customers shifted uncomfortably, guilt settling into their expressions. Lily's words poured out, each one striking deeper than the last. "He fixes people's cars even when his back hurts. He stays up late sewing my clothes so I can still wear my favorite dresses. He says love doesn't have to be new to be beautiful." Her eyes glistened, but she stood tall. The kind of strength that only innocence and love can give. And just like that, the world around her changed. You could almost hear the heartbeat of the store. The beeping of scanners stopped. The chatter faded. Even the soft hum of the lights seemed to dim, leaving only that small, trembling voice to fill the void. Daniel, standing beside her, looked stunned. His eyes wide, his lips parted. He hadn't expected this. His little girl, speaking truths he'd buried deep under years of exhaustion and silence. He wanted to stop her, to protect her from embarrassment. But something told him not to. Something told him this was her moment. Across the counter, the cashier's confidence broke completely. Her hands trembled as she stared down at the little girl. I didn't mean," she started, but the words wouldn't come. Her face was pale, her throat dry. Then a voice came from the back of the line, an older man with gray hair and a face weathered by time. His tone was calm, steady, but carried a weight that silenced everyone. "You're doing just fine, son," he said, placing a kind hand on Daniel's shoulder. Daniel froze. The warmth of that gesture, simple, human, cut through everything. The humiliation, the fatigue, the quiet shame he'd carried for years. Lily looked up at the man, then at her father. Daniel's lips trembled, trying to form words. But the old man simply nodded as if saying, "You don't need to explain yourself," and then something incredible began to happen. A woman near the shoe aisle stepped forward, holding a small pair of children's sneakers. These are her size," she said quietly, her voice shaky. "Please, let me buy them for her." Before Daniel could refuse, another voice joined in, a middle-aged man with a shopping cart half full. Put his total on my tab, he told the cashier, his tone firm but kind. He's paid more than enough in life already. The cashier's eyes filled with tears as she nodded silently. One by one, strangers began to move closer. A young mother handed Lily a soft pink scarf. An elderly woman smiled and said, "You remind me of my own daughter. Don't ever stop being proud of your dad." The atmosphere in that store shifted entirely. The same aisles that moments ago felt cold and judgmental now buzzed with quiet warmth, as if everyone had remembered what humanity was supposed to look like. Daniel didn't know what to say. He tried to speak, but the words tangled in his throat. Finally, he knelt beside Lily, pulling her close. His voice cracked as he whispered, "You're my pride, not my shame." She smiled through tears, wrapping her tiny arms around his neck. And in that embrace, surrounded by strangers who were no longer strangers, something changed in every heart present. The cashier stepped around the counter, her voice soft, trembling. "Sir, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said what I did." Daniel looked at her, not with anger, but with calm weariness. "Just be kinder next time," he said gently. And somehow, that forgiveness hit harder than any scolding ever could. The girl nodded, wiping her eyes. But what happened next would leave everyone in that store completely still. As Daniel and Lily turned to leave, sunlight streamed through the glass doors, a golden beam cutting through the gray light of the store. It fell across them like a spotlight, glinting off the worn fabric of the little girl's bunny. Lily reached up, holding her father's rough hand. Together, they stepped into the light, quiet, unbroken, and proud. Behind them, people stood frozen, their shopping bags forgotten, their minds turning inward. The laughter that once filled the air was gone, replaced by something softer, heavier: reflection. Because what they had just witnessed wasn't about money or clothes or pride. It was about dignity, about the quiet kind of love that never needs to prove itself, yet when tested, shines brighter than gold. The door closed behind them with a soft chime, leaving the crowd in stunned silence. The cashier stood still, watching them disappear into the sunlight, and whispered almost to herself, "I wish I had a father like that." And somewhere deep inside that moment, in that shared silence of guilt, awe, and realization, everyone finally understood what Lily had meant, that love doesn't need to be new, to be beautiful. Soft piano fades out. The sound of footsteps and fading chatter lingers. Final message. What would you have done if you witnessed this moment? Tell us in the comments. And remember, real wealth is found in kindness.